Travels with Charlie is paid for by Milne Travel, Casella Waste, and Myers Wood-Fired Bagels. The views and opinions expressed in Travels with Charlie do not necessarily reflect the views of management and staff at WDEV. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
Well, it's all about all the folks you meet, sitting in a diner or out in the street. Catch up with the news, get your point of view. I want to hear what unravels. I'll see you in my travels.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Travels with Charlie. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. Great to be with you. And don't forget, today it's town meeting day all across Vermont. A lot of towns will be having their annual town meeting in the evening. And sometimes there's pies, sometimes there's cakes. Speaking in Colchester, where I'm a member of the select board, tonight we are having a town meeting and somebody's actually doing a spaghetti dinner. So I get to have a little spaghetti tonight. And tomorrow, don't forget, get out and vote. Get out and vote. I want to also remind you, you can follow me on Instagram at Charlie_Papillo. If you want to email any comments about the show, or maybe you have an idea for a show, or you want to be a guest on the program, cpapillo@radiovermont.com. Simple as that. Thanks to the sponsors of Travels with Charlie. That's how this show comes your way, and I would hope that you would be friends with my sponsors as well. Casella Waste Systems, Casella.com. Zero Sort Recycling, helping to keep it out of the landfill. If you're going to do some traveling, Milne Travel, those are the people to trust. They've been doing it since 1975. MilneTravel.com. They're travel specialists. They search the lowest airfares via databases exclusive to the travel industry. They're going to get you a good price, and they're going to treat you right. And Myers Wood-Fired, of course, this time of year when it's wicked cold outside, you want to stop in for a lunch at Myers Wood-Fired. They got soups on, along with their delicious wood-fired bagels. And Friday nights, 4 to 8, don't forget, it's wood-fired pizza, the only way to do it. You know that. Montreal-style bagels, 408 Shelburne Road in Burlington, Myers Wood-Fired. Today's show, well, we got a great program lined up for you. We're going to meet Instagrammer Rocket, that's his name, of @EatVermont. He's traveling all over Vermont, showcasing and eating great food. What's better than that? My first guest today, this is an all-travel show. She's traveled the world. She's climbed Mount Everest. She's been to 69 countries. She went from being a receptionist to president of a global manufacturing company. How does that make you feel? She's done it all. Please welcome Brenda Prater-Sellers, author of You Slept Where. Brenda, good afternoon. Welcome to Travels with Charlie.
Well, thank you for having me, Charlie.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, we talked a little bit off the air about you certainly beat me, and I think you probably beat most people in my listening audience. 69 countries. But let's talk about first, I don't even know where we start. I mean, you started off as a child. You wanted to be a photographer. You didn't go in that direction, though.
Yes, well, I wanted to be a photographer. I'm a farmer's daughter, so I grew up working on a farm, and that was hard work, as you know, and so I ended up going to a manufacturing company, and that's where I went from receptionist to the president of the company. But I've always was trying to get the award-winning photograph to go on National Geographic. Oh. That was always my goal.
So traveling was part of part of what you wanted to do is take beautiful pictures, and then you landed this job with it was an automotive parts company. Was that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, automotive aftermarket, and my mama, being a farmer's wife, she always got the subscription of National Geographic. And in 5th grade, I said, I'm going to see all these places in these magazines, and I'm going to go photograph them. So it was very early in my childhood that I knew I wanted to photograph and see all these places, and I made a list starting back then.
So it's never too early to start that list, is it?
It is, yes, it is not.
Also,
and do it now. That's my message. Do it now before you die.
Yeah, well, that's good advice. Interesting, as we go through the years, back in 1990, It probably wasn't that common. Now you were, a CEO of this company, which was, an aftermarket automotive company, product company, and you would think, well, that's kind of a guy's job. Not to say that women can't do it. You certainly proved that. In fact, you were named Man of the Year. They didn't have women doing it back then. They thought, well, she's the Man of the Year.
Yes, that was 1990 because they didn't have a category for women at that time in this industry. But since then, I'm happy to report that obviously more women are in the automotive aftermarket now. So
Absolutely.
I'm really proud of that.
Absolutely. And people may recognize, when you're out on the road and you're driving around and you see a vehicle in front of you, and you see these little stick figure decals on the back of that car. The company that you headed, Chroma, is responsible for those. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's just one of the many products that we made. We were the ones that put that on the market. But we also were licensed by Chevy, Ford, Dodge, Harley, Disney, Warner Brothers. And so those were all the brands of products we made to put on automotive aftermarket products.
Then did you have anything to do with that stick family decal? Did you ever think something like that would become that popular? I mean, people are probably shaking their heads right now. Yeah, I've seen those before.
I know, yeah. They were an industry. You can still see them on the cars even today. So, but yeah, we actually sold them in a packet that with your old family, so you can add like a cat or dog or whoever's in your family on the back of your car.
Yeah. Now I know our listeners as well as myself. We detect a bit of an accent. You're probably saying the same thing. I detect an accent from you, Charlie. You're not from the South. You are from the South. Whereabouts are you from, Brenda?
I'm from East Tennessee.
East Tennessee. Now, people are always proud of. It's not just Tennessee. It's is there like a rivalry between West Tennessee and Southern Tennessee?
Yeah, well, East Tennessee, we're in God's country versus Nashville. Nashville's its own, it's the whole other atmosphere, and then you have Memphis at the other end of the state. So that's why people from Tennessee always will say, I'm from East Tennessee. We're in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains. We're in God's country.
So that's where you grew up, Brenda. How do you think that affected you? You say, a farmer's daughter. You went on to become a CEO of a major company, and we'll talk about your travels. But how did that all affect you growing up?
Well, I think from growing up on a farm, it's obviously hard work. And when I got this job, I was going to business college, but I got this other job as a receptionist, kind of part-time, and I couldn't believe that I could get paid in an air conditioning room and not have to pick okra and be out in the hot sun or bale hay. So it was almost like a dream job to me because it was. I mean, even though it was hard mentally, it was not hard physically.
Nothing like a little incentive, doing a job that you're not. And that's funny because I start thinking about some of the jobs that I had, and boy, they were incentive for me to. You don't want to do this the rest of your life. You better either go back to school or start thinking about doing something else. There's nothing like that to give you a little bit of incentive. So you've traveled to 69 countries. Was that all through the company Chroma, or you just took vacations, Brenda?
Oh, well, it was kind of a combination of both. And the number is up to 70 now because I was in Iceland just a couple of months ago. So that was really neat, too. So that made me 70 countries.
So why Iceland?
Because we were photographing waterfalls. And it's just a beautiful place. And as you know, the title of my book is called You Slept Where? Well, in Iceland, they have a big bubble that you could sleep in. So I was there to sleep in the big bubble.
Woo! So, the title of your book, You Slept Where? And we're going to talk about some of these places that you slept. Brenda Prater-Seller is my guest this afternoon on Travels with Charlie. So, in your book, The Calamities of a Clumsy Businesswoman, are there a lot of the pictures that you've taken, Brenda, as well?
Yes, and there's a QR code, or you can go to my website, just at www.brendapratersellers.com, and it shows the family farm, it shows all the places, Mount Everest, it shows all the places that I've been per chapter. So that was very innovative through the publisher because otherwise it'd be a $50 coffee table book that nobody would want, Well, nice idea. I got to ask you about your
climbing Mount Everest. I mean, people travel. You travel first class, you stay in a hotel somewhere. It sounds like you've slept in some pretty unusual places. And then to climb Mount Everest, that is a challenge and a half. What was it? How did that get on your bucket list?
Okay, so it started with I was photographing the wonders of the world. And people don't realize there's 4 sets of wonders of the world times 7. Mount Everest happens to be one of those natural wonders of the world. So I was just there to photograph the mountain. If I could have skydived, which I'm a skydiver, if I could have skydived over to got the photograph to check it off my list, I would have done that. But they can't. They couldn't fly far enough, so I had to fly into Luca. But I said my biggest challenge of climbing Mount Everest was that I didn't break a fingernail.
Oh.
That was my biggest accomplishment. but because 3 days I do not remember because of due to altitude sickness. So I'm not a big hiker at all, but I was there to photograph that. So that was the bucket list of the natural wonders of the world.
So you can check that off your list, but you probably would not want to do it again.
Yeah, no, because I said the other part of that story was I survived the mountain, but then I get back to the hotel in Nepal, and I tried to go. I was ready to get into there to go shave my legs, wash my hair, and the Sherpa that was taking all my gear to the room, he said something, and I bumped my head. I was taller than the door frame of the hotel, so I hit my head, and then it about knocked me out. I mean, it literally, I literally did see little birdies and stars. And then as I walked into the hotel room, I did not see the 5 steps that went down into the room.
Oh.
So I tripped, I fell, hit my knee, sprained my ankle. And if that's not bad enough, I put on, when to get the mountain climbing boots off, so I put on some hotel-issued flip-flops,
Yep.
and I had an allergic reaction to the flip-flops,
man.
and they made my feet swell.
So you survived climbing the mountain, but then you get back and you're banging your head on a hotel doorway. Brenda Prater Sellers, my guest this afternoon on Travels with Charlie. She's traveled the world. We just found out 70 different countries. We'll get into a little bit more of that. What's her favorite country? And we'll do all that all straight ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Keep it right here. Travels with Charlie, WDEV. Welcome back, Travels with Charlie. My guest this afternoon for this segment is Brenda Prater Sellers. You can find out more about her on her website, BrendaPraterSellers.com. That's Prater, Sellers, like Peter.com. Calamities of a clumsy businesswoman. You slept where? She slept in 70 different countries. Do you have a favorite country, Brenda?
Well, yes, but it's not in this book. I've been writing my whole life, and the only bizarre places in this book is just if something happened, whether I'm falling in the hotel room or something clumsy, something that happened. But there's a ton more that I've been to that's not there. I've been to several in Vermont, in your neck of the woods, at the Woodstock Inn and Resort. I've been there. And
nice,
the Trapp Family's Lodge.
Oh, you've been to the nice places.
Yes, and there was a lot more that I've been to, but just didn't make the book. But if I had to name the best place, my favorite place, I wrote a story about it. It just didn't get published yet, and it was in Africa, and it was a Dear Margaret story about all the experiences in Africa. So that probably was my favorite because I love the animals, and the photography was amazing, photographing all the animals.
So what, if any, Brenda, lessons did you learn from all of your travels?
Well, the lesson is I always learn so much more about actually being there and experiencing there, and also learn patience too. Because part of the it's not just the destination; it's part of the journey of getting there. So it's not about the destination per se; it's all about the journey. And then I also have because I'm a photographer, I also have a pending Guinness World Record for the most photo albums and scrapbooks. So I relive, and I print them. I'm still printing all these photos now. So I relive that adventure when I'm putting them into my albums. I've got 1,166 albums so far.
Woo. And these are actual albums. They're not on your smartphone. Real pictures, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, these are actually old school because it's almost a lost art of scrapbooking and photo albums.
It is, yeah.
But Yeah, I have two, and you can see that also on my website. I've got 2 rooms that's just dedicated to the photo albums.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up because I go back to, my first big international trip was, my gosh, I think maybe 15, 16, might even be 17 years ago, and still using a camera then. And I took all the photos on, actual camera. And, if you ran out of film, you were out of luck. But today, when you travel, it's like you don't even bring a camera. Everybody has their smartphone. But I think about that because I like looking through actual photographs. And we really have lost that, haven't we?
Yes, we really have, and then with phones, that's part of the part about being clumsy. I've lost several phones, and then if you got pictures in there, it's like they're gone forever. So it's like the people enjoying reading like a real book. Digital's great, and I love digital. My cameras are digital, but I also love the printed photos too.
Absolutely, yeah. So you have an actual digital camera. You don't rely on your smartphone to take the photos. Although I'm really impressed. Some of the smartphones today, they're doing movies on them, and they look great. It's unbelievable.
Yes, exactly.
So in your book, You Traveled Where? Calamities of a Clumsy Businesswoman. You talk about how laughter is the best medicine, and I think we all understand that. And then to kind of put the icing on the cake, so to speak, you met Kevin Hart, that Kevin Hart, comedian Kevin Hart, and you made him laugh. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's my claim to fame. I had the opportunity he came to Knoxville, so I had the opportunity to meet him. And so when I met him, he's real short. I'm tall.
He
and
is,
so
yes.
he came to like my armpit. So I towered over him. I was with another lady, and there was, I think, 40 people that got to have their picture made with him. Well, so my other friend, Regina, was with me, and she was taller than I am. So she towered over him too. Well, when it got my time, I said, and he had just released a book, and I was the only one in that group that had read his book. And I said, oh, hey, I'm a writer. I was trying to finish my book at the time. So I wanted to ask you a bunch of questions, but I didn't have the opportunity because they're moving me on. So I said, hey, I've read your book. And he was so impressed that I read his book. He goes, well, what's your name? And I said, well, my name is Brenda Sellers. Just remember BS. And he thought that was so funny. And he started laughing. And so my friend Regina said, well, what did you say to him? It was just really fun. I said, well, my claim to fame is I made him laugh.
Well, that's a great claim to fame. We talk about life goals and bucket lists and things like that. And as you mentioned, it's never too early, I suppose never too late to start that bucket list. But how do you start making that list? As you decided many years ago, you wanted to travel, you wanted to be a photographer, and you're able to do that. But how do you put that list together, Brenda? How would an average person today start doing that? Where do you start?
Well, I did like a little example in the book, as a matter of fact, because I'm encouraging all these readers to compile your own to-do list. And it just says, as a child, where did you dream of going? And then after reading this book, did you feel impressed to try to go to different places and new adventures? And just write them down. There's like a little thing, you just check the box and write them down. Or otherwise, you just rather live your life vicariously through somebody else and stay on the couch.
Isn't that funny? When you think about, I don't think there are too many people. You seem to be one of them. I would say that myself, I'm one of them. When I was 10 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. My old partner in radio was the same thing. We were on the air together for more than 20 years. 10 years old, we knew that we wanted to be in radio. So, living the dream. It's never, as you mentioned, never too early to start thinking about that. When you write books, I guess part of it, you do radio programs like this, and I enjoy having you on. I hope you're enjoying being on with me on Travels with Charlie. But one of the things that you have to do is get out and do these book signings. And I can imagine your hand gets pretty sore after you're sitting at that desk and people come up to you and, please sign it to Marie. How do you spell that? You want it with an I, with a Y, whatever. Have you ever had any strange experiences at a book signing that stand out for you, Brenda?
Well, I've had I live in Blount County, Tennessee, and I've had because the book is so bizarre, I've had the most bizarre book signings. I have a drive-by book signing where, the books are a hardback book and it weighs 30 pounds in a box. So I'm like, because I'm a car person, people could just drive around, get it and go and not even get out of the car. So that was one. And then the second one is we have an old historical castle. It's like a millennial manor in Alcoa. And so we came up with a medieval festival. I did a book signing there, dressed up in medieval. We did a function that, bring your kids dressed up like princesses or medieval. And I had a book signing there. So, but it helped. That helped the place that owned the castle. So it got visitors there to do a tour of the castle. And then if that wasn't bizarre enough, we had a historical theater downtown. And so Big Ed, who's also a character in the book, we pretended it was a book signing, but it was a birthday party surprise for him, and those proceeds went to Tennessee Alzheimer's because my mother had Alzheimer's. That's really part of the story too. The book's raised over $50,000. But people came to this old timey theater, and all these pictures from this book are on streaming on the big screen. So, and we raised over, I think, close to $2,000 just that night for Tennessee Alzheimer's.
That's amazing. So you've raised money for other charitable groups as well, have you not, Brenda?
Yes, a lot of nonprofits, including the Haven House here in Blount County, and we did one event with the Tennessee Alzheimer's, and it raised over $31,000 for an evening with the author. I donated the books, and then I came and spoke, and then that raised $31,000.
That's amazing. I have to ask you, as a fellow traveler, I've never experienced first class, and I swear to myself each time, and then I look at the bill and I go, I don't think I'm going to do that. But if you ever travel across to the other side of the planet, and you have a 14-hour trip, everyone tells me you got to go first class. So let me ask you, is it business, economy, or first class for you, Brenda?
Okay, so it just depends. What I do is, like, everything that I buy, I'll put it on a Delta credit card airline. So that gives me free miles. Those free miles, I can buy a cheap coach ticket back in the cattle wagon, but then I can upgrade with those points to get me to business class. Business class is good enough, but sometimes I get bumped. I'm a 2 million miler just on Delta Airlines, and so if I get upgraded, then that's great. But I will never, ever probably pay that much for first class.
Yeah,
I'm too cheap.
Yeah, well, it's what they charge. It's way up. I've never had that experience where I've got bumped. A lot of my friends have. They go, man, it's like I got bumped up to a business or even to first class sometimes. That's never happened to me. Hopefully, at some point it will. How do you get accustomed to the time change? We've got a time change coming up here this weekend. It's a 1 hour difference, and that seems to throw people off. But you travel to the West Coast from here, it's 3 hours difference. But I've traveled, and I'm sure you have as well, where it's a different day when you get there, and it's 12 hours different. How do you get accustomed to it? What are your tips, Brenda?
Yeah, well, that's always it's always hard, especially when you go the other way to Europe. That makes it hard too, because you're trying to get up when you should be sleeping. So that's always hard too. But part of that is, I know it sounds funny, is just making sure you drink plenty of water and stay hydrated. Even though as silly as that seems, it really does make a difference, because on that plane, and if you're not drinking enough and dehydrating, or if you get dehydrated, it just makes you feel bad all over. I try usually 3 to 4 days ahead of time before wherever I'm going. I try to adjust to their time, and then I always try to fly. If I'm going to like Europe, I always try to fly at night, and so you're sleeping when you're normally sleeping, and then try not to go to bed until it's still their nighttime.
Yeah,
always seems. Does that make sense? That seems to always work for me.
Yeah, I've always done that as well. It's like if you get there and it's nighttime back where you're from, but it's morning time there, push yourself, because that's the easiest. What about packing? And I'm not saying that, women don't know how to pack, but, when I go with my wife, we can go away for a weekend somewhere, and she's got enough stuff for a month. I've got a backpack with me. Maybe, after you've done 70 different trips, Brenda, have you kind of whittled it down? There's like some things you can buy when you get there. Some things you find you don't need. Some things you can wash when you get there. You don't need to bring as much. Any tips on packing?
No, because that's part of my story too. I take Big Bertha, which is my Toomey suit bag. She weighs as much as 70 to 75 pounds, depending on the airline. And I teach Boy Scouts. My son was an Eagle Scout, so I was with Boy Scouts. I always would come to be prepared. So I take everything in the kitchen sink. So I'm not a good packer at all. And when I climbed Mount Everest, I had one backpack. My camera gear was 30 pounds. So I couldn't even carry that. But the Sherpa carried all of my gear, and he could not believe, because I'm a junk food eater. All of my food and snacks was like 20 or 30 pounds. My purse weighs 30 pounds. So my suitcase in Big Bertha weighs like 70, 75. But she's got her own story. She's like her own character in the book. And then there's a couple times she saves the day. Big Bertha saves the day. So that's part of her story too. But she's ragged and she's duct taped up because she's been to 70 countries.
Do you have any superstitions about things that you have to bring with you all the time, Brenda?
No, I'm not really superstition, but Bertha's been lost and found many times. But she's always found her way back home. And then we did a little YouTube video. She got sick. She broke a wheel. She had to go off to the hospital to get fixed, and then she came back home.
What about getting used to different customs? Obviously, you have to read up about some of these locations that you go to, because you don't know, what somebody may find offensive. I know in some countries, if you spit on the ground, they can arrest you. Some places you don't wear yellow on a certain day. That's offensive to them. And some of the food, obviously is going to be different. How do you get used to all of that, Brenda?
Well, it's all about doing the research now, and now you just Google it now. But years ago, and that's when I even started this book. They had the Fodor's book, the FODOR''S, and having to look up stuff in the different countries, and did all the watching all the movies, all the DVDs, even VHS back in the day to see what is the tradition. But that is part of, like in Japan. We actually did business in Japan, and they didn't really like women in that business at that point, but then they respected that position as well. So It is learning the different, but I think that's part of the adventure, is learning their traditions as well.
Exactly. Recently went to Iceland. It's 2025, just the beginning of the year. What's your next trip, Brenda?
Well, I've got, it was on my list for 3 different times. We have never photographed the Albuquerque Balloon Festival. So we're going to go across the country from Tennessee to New Mexico. And there's a lot of other places along the way to see, but we're going to photograph those hot air balloons.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I thank you so much for joining me this afternoon on Travels with Charlie. I'll see you in my travels, and thank you so much for joining me today. People can find out more information about your book at BrendaPraterSellers.com, the author of You Slept Where? Calamities of a Clumsy Businesswoman. Brenda, thank you so much for joining me today on Travels with Charlie. Safe travels.
Okay, thanks, Charlie.
All right, we will talk with you again at some point. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Rocket about his travels all across Vermont, eating great food. That's all straight ahead. Keep it right here. Travels with Charlie, WDEV.
Heather?
Oh, back with you. Travels with Charlie. My next guest goes by the name of Rocket.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Rocket. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining me here on Travels with Charlie.
Thanks for having me.
So we were talking just before I went on the air today, and my producer and fellow comrade here at WDEV says there aren't many people that go by single name, and I'm going, yeah, Madonna and Cher. I don't know many others, and you're just known as Rocket. Do you have another name, or people just know you as Rocket?
It's funny you should ask. My childhood name is Ryan Kim. When I was about 10 years ago, I legally changed it to Rocket, just Rocket, right?
You did?
I did. That was all my documentation was just Rocket. But having one name, very fun, very me, but it was causing me a lot of issues. So I actually last year finally circled around and added a first name just because I needed 2 names for electronic filings.
Yeah.
So I just added Senator. So my legal name is Senator Rocket. But you can call me Rocket.
Have you ever been stopped by the police? Pull out your ID?
Unfortunately, sometimes I have a tail light out. Or I may have rolled a stop.
Senator Rocket. Yeah, right.
yeah,
Sure. Yeah. So, I was thinking, and by the way, let's give a little background here.
Sure.
Why Rocket is here. I first came across Rocket on Instagram, and you can come across Rocket as well on Instagram at Eat Vermont.
Correct.
He's there. He's got a mobile app that he's been working on for quite some time. And this guy's living a dream because, people that know Charlie Papillo from years ago doing the morning show, I would bring restaurants into me and they would bring food to me. And I thought, man, I got it made. And then I hear about Rocket that travels all across Vermont, and he's got people like bringing out the entire restaurant to him, serving them all kinds of food. He's photographing it. He's doing video reels of it.
Yes, sir.
So you're out there and just living the dream.
Well,
How did that all come about?
Well, before we jump into that, Charlie, keeping with the tradition of people bringing you food, I brought you coffee from my neck of the woods. This is First Branch Coffee down in South Royalton.
Wow.
It's their Soro blend. And the woman, Lauren, she's a friend of mine, the woman who owns the place, she roasted that this morning. So I grabbed you a bag of that, thought I'd bring that up for you. So
that is awesome.
Just in the tradition of people bringing you goods from the road.
My tradition stands, I guess. You've heard about it, obviously.
I have. We got to keep it alive.
We certainly did. You didn't get into the studio unless you brought stuff. Thank you so much, Rocket, for
You're very
doing
welcome.
that. I will enjoy that coffee.
Yeah, that's First Branch Coffee. They're a great spot down in Soro.
So how long have you been doing this?
I started doing these stories for fun about 10 years ago. For me, it was I studied economics at Middlebury, and I always thought I was going to go into a more quote-unquote traditional corporate route, banking, consulting, something like that. But I wanted to experiment with something creative, and I thought, hey, taking food photos would be a fun way to be creative and maybe also get some free food. So, I said, let me tinker with this. Now, the thing is, it started off as this fun hobby project, and then quickly it turned into this thing where I said, well, maybe I could get paid to do this. But then I quickly ran into this issue. There are businesses that can afford marketing, but they don't need someone like to come and do it because they got their own marketing team.
Sure.
And there's all these businesses that really need the marketing, but they can't afford it. So you're in a market where people don't need it or they can't afford it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty bad market to be in.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was doing this back in 2015, 2016, 2017. I started to realize how difficult it is for our small business owners to just stay in business, just to keep their doors open. And it struck me as really ironic and really unpleasant that it was so tough for them. And yet these small businesses, they have their personalities, the personalities of the business owners. They have their own flair, their own flavors. And they're one of the things that really makes Vermont special.
Yeah.
And yet it's so difficult for them. It's almost like a masochistic exercise to have a small restaurant in Vermont. And I said, there's something about that just strikes me as wrong. Now, I couldn't figure out what I was doing with this long term, and so I put it away for a few years. But then during the pandemic, it was the same thing. And I just said, I have this platform, I have this idea, this way of helping serve better.
And that's when restaurants really needed help.
Well, just watching the excruciating pain. How could you live in a community and see how your neighbors go through so much pain and say, oh, I'll do nothing? I couldn't do that. And I said, I have a vision for how we could actually streamline and bring solutions to our food community where we connect businesses and consumers who all want to find each other. And how do we make that connection a little more seamless?
Well, you're doing a great job of it because
hey, thanks.
Anybody, and check it out. Don't take my word for it. At Eat Vermont, go to Instagram and just check that out, and you'll see the wonderful food that Rocket is eating and enjoying. But you'll also, the one thing that stood out for me is that I'm watching this because I see other people do it and they go, okay, you've got a personality, you've got a flair for it.
Thank
you
you.
were meant to do this.
I enjoy it.
You can tell. You talked about getting into the business world and stuff. And no, you were meant for this, but you still for this to get off the ground, you've got to get that business wheels kind of going, and you're doing some of that because you want to make a living doing this, right?
Well, you know what? I will say that one of the things that I think has been a hidden secret of success with Eat Vermont, and you can find it on Instagram, but also Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Put the videos everywhere.
Yeah.
But is that my my parents are entrepreneurs, my grandparents are entrepreneurs. I grew up in a small business owning family. And then I studied economics at Middlebury. I studied law at Vermont Law School. So I have actually a very business minded background.
Yeah.
And I think that empathy that I have for the small business owners is really one of the things that unlocks that ability to tell the story in a way that is more representative of what the business actually is. For me, I care about that deeply. If you don't know who the business owner is when you go to New Jersey, you have no idea.
Right.
But when you come to Vermont, the business owner is usually right there. And that's something that makes it special that we have this connection.
Right.
Right.
And the restaurants that you go to are you're not going to the chains. You're going to the locally owned restaurants. And people will see this at Eat Vermont. If you go to Instagram, you'll see that. You're talking with the owner of the restaurant. They're there. They're slinging. They're in the kitchen. They're working hard.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's what makes it.
Like, how could you not love and respect that?
Exactly.
It's a really magical thing, and I just wish, it's one of these things that can be really thankless. A lot of business owners don't take salaries, right? They pay everyone else, and they eat lunch last, right?
Yeah.
And there's something really amazing about that. One thing I'm trying to drive into more this year, besides the app, of course, but is to actually tell stories in agriculture, because I feel like no farms, no food,
Right.
And I feel like I could do a better job of highlighting that story. So over the course of the year, you'll see more work in that line coming out.
Rocket is my guest this afternoon at Eat Vermont on Instagram. When I just found out a moment ago that you actually legally are Rocket, and then you had to have a second name because you needed two. Senator. When I saw the senator thing online, I said, I wonder if he's kind of playing into that David Portnoy thing. And of course, you know who David Portnoy is.
One Bite Pizza,
Yeah, One Bite, Barstool, the One Bite app, all of that stuff. And he goes by the name Prez. He's the president. So that name was taken, so I assumed you went with Senator, but it's not.
No, it's unrelated.
It's unrelated, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of it's this thing. It's like in some parts it's just a joke because I just wanted to be Rocket, right?
Yeah,
And say,
yeah.
well, if everyone's going to require me to have a second name, fine, then I'll designate myself a senator.
yeah.
On the other side, there is this thing where people could say, well, what designates you to be a senator? You haven't won an election, let's say, right?
yeah.
You say, well, what about anything in life where you're credentialed? Where you say, do you need the affirmation of other people to say that you're worthwhile of telling a story, to be worthwhile of sitting at the table?
Right.
Or is it about an intrinsic motivation and self-evaluation to say, no, I'm aspiring to be someone for myself.
Absolutely.
So I really think, I studied business, law, economics, law. I'm doing in media now, but really in my soul, I think of myself as an artist. And so all of these things are just different expressions and forms of expression.
I kind of got that, and again, it's a credit to you from the videos that you do and the postings that you do. I said, and I think he's an artist.
I am, yeah.
I kind of got, my son's an artist, so I
Okay.
get that. You immediately know, oh, this guy's an artist. I can tell. I have to, one of the things, and I'm not trying to connect you to Barstool
Sure.
and what Portnoy does.
Yeah,
And
I don't even watch his stuff. Yeah.
Portnoy, he rates things. He's got a rating on a pizza. It's a 1 to 10 scale. One bite, everybody knows the rule.
Yeah.
One thing that I found out about you, and you're very clear about this, you do not critique the food. In fact, you state somewhere that if you're going to do any critiquing, you do that behind the scenes.
Yeah, compliment in public, critique
Right?
in private.
Yeah,
That's my
and
style. Yeah.
that's very important. So you're out there to help people.
Yeah.
And you'll help the person if they're doing something wrong, but you don't want to let the world know that.
Yeah, when I started Eat Vermont, it was just me doing this thing. And at this point now, we've got over 30,000 followers just on the Instagram.
Wow.
And across other platforms, another 20+ thousand, right? It's a lot of people watching this as a percentage of Vermont. Now, if I have a critique for a business, I think it's fair to just offer that privately.
Yeah.
I realize that a lot of people are following me place to place and actually going out and experiencing the things for themselves. And it just feels like a very not pro-community. The pro-community thing would be to highlight the positive,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's so easy for us to be obsessed with the negative, whether it's political, cultural, these things that divide us, separate us. It's so easy to criticize and tear down, right? Destructive energy can just go any direction. But to be constructive, it's intentional. It's
Right.
painstaking.
Exactly.
And so I think for me, it's like I want to devote myself to that process, that disciplined process, even though I'm a wild one, I'm an artist. So I say, how can I devote myself diligently to this process of uplifting?
You are a wild one because I found out, and a crazy one, and I mean that in a good way.
It is what it is.
I just found out the other day that I don't. Do you do this daily or weekly? You go swimming in the wintertime, and in fact, you don't need to show me the scars, but you fell through the ice and you scraped yourself up, and I'm going, what are you, nuts?
Just a flesh wound.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of documented health benefits to it.
I've heard about that.
So I do.
I can turn the shower on cold, and then that'll work. And
See, now I hate that. The shower is supposed to be a comfortable space.
yeah, and it happens sometimes when somebody flushes the toilet. Don't do that.
Yep. Well, the cold plunging, the reason I really do it is to push myself to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? We live in so much comfort. You think a few hundred years ago when people first moved to Vermont, they were carving their own landscapes, building their own houses out of log cabins. And if you didn't air gap the logs, you lived with the wind coming through all winter. And so I think for me, it's to just put myself deliberately in places of challenge, to mentally keep myself calm, to master my own anxieties.
It
my
really
own fears.
works?
It works a lot. Yeah, it works a lot.
Well, I'd like to say I'll try it, but I'm not. My guest this afternoon on Travels with Charlie is Rocket at Eat Vermont. He's on Instagram, Eat Vermont, at Eat Vermont. Hopefully we'll get another 10,000 followers after listening here on Travels with Charlie.
With you, no doubt.
Let's hope it happens. I'm so impressed with, you go to these restaurants and diners and things like that, and I mean they pull out all the stops. They're not saying let's try the burger.
Right.
They continually bring food out to you, and I'm wondering, because he's a skinny guy, folks.
Yeah, I'm pretty small.
How much of that do you eat? Do you have a big film crew with you now? How many people go out with you?
No, I'll go with one person, and sometimes it's just myself. It just depends on what the day looks like, right? I eat a fair amount of it, but for example, today it's feast and famine. So today I haven't eaten yet, right? And so it's just sort of trying to make sure I leave space to be able to try things properly. I'll bring stuff home, or sometimes I think of myself as Santa Claus. I'll bring the food to go and I dish it out to people along the way. So I filmed at Felino's Pizza, for example, and I had another film spot next. So they made these pies specifically for the filming, and I brought those to the next place, and that's a shift meal for the crew there, and that's kind of cool for them. They get to try some pizza from down the road, and so there's a lot of community reciprocity in that.
So at this point, are restaurants contacting you because they've seen this on Instagram and they say, hey, this works and we'd love for Rocket to come here and showcase our food?
It happens a lot. But there's a lot of people who love their local restaurant, their favorite spots, and they'll come out, reach out, and that's
and they're
fun
telling
too.
you.
Yeah, they'll say, you've got to try this.
So
hey, what are you doing over there? You got to come over here.
So do you go to the restaurant and say, hey, I'm Rocket, this is what I do?
Yeah.
And do some people go, yeah, and we're going to feed you all that kind of food, and what do we get in return?
Not so much anymore.
At first, I would imagine it had to be a hard sell. People that are listening and going, "Wow, what a great idea!" As you just mentioned, you've been doing this for 10 years. It's finally reaching that plateau.
Yeah, it's
now.
exactly that. So it's like when you see sports contracts for these NBA players.
Yes.
These huge contracts. Well, they're not getting paid per game. They're getting paid for all the years of practice.
Right.
And I think with Eat Vermont, there were hundreds of rejections, hundreds.
Yeah.
And now it's gotten to the point where it's sort of an obvious thing to do, because we have such reach. But it's not just the quantity of views; it's the quality of the views.
Right.
It's the fact that it's a predominantly Vermont-based audience, or people coming to Vermont, and then that there's tens of thousands of views across. Every month we have, just on the Instagram alone, over 300,000 views just on the Instagram every month. So there's a huge number of views. We're doing institutional numbers here, and so I think for a lot of restaurants, it's not just an obvious thing to do, but it's a fun thing to do.
Have you figured out the Instagram thing? Because I know people are probably listening and going, geez, I post things and I get 8 views.
Yeah, well,
what is it that you have to do to get is it hashtags, all of that stuff?
First off, you just got to tell a good story.
Yeah.
Right? But beyond that, I wonder for myself, if I'm going to be honest, if I had to just start from scratch today, an account with 0 followers, could I recreate it? And I'd like to think yes. But I would say also the momentum helps, right?
Yes.
You have 20,000 followers, it's easier to get to 21.
Yeah.
If you have 30,000 followers, it's even easier to get to 31, right? So I think that momentum really helps a lot.
It's not going to happen overnight. My guest this afternoon, Rocket, we're going to talk with him a little bit more. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, he's got a mobile app, and that's part of what he does. We're going to find out more about that, too.
It's cool. I think it's going to really change what Vermont food looks like and community in Vermont looks like.
All right. We'll do that all straight ahead. Keep it right here. Travels with Charlie, WDEV. Here we go. We are live. Travels with Charlie. Rocket joining me here in studio today with Eat Vermont at Eat Vermont on Instagram, and he's taping some of this, so some of it may show up on his feed.
Hey, why not?
I love that. Love that. You can help me out right now because one of my sponsors is Myers Wood-Fired Bagels, 408
great.
Shelburne Road in Burlington. And I know recently you went there
sure
and
did.
they pulled out all the stops. You were
yeah.
Did you have a chance to eat the McMeyer? That's my favorite.
That's what I'm thinking of right now. Yeah,
Isn't that
McMeyer is phenomenal.
They smoke their own meat, and then they take a fingerling potato and they put it on the griddle and they smash it.
Yeah.
And then they put that on the bagel
Yep.
with a little pickle, and it's awesome.
It's a hearty breakfast.
It is a hearty breakfast, and they fed you well there. You were eating all kinds of
They
stuff.
did feed me well. That's true. Yeah, and when they wood fire it right there in front of you, it's everything. It's great experience.
Montreal-style bagels, that means that they're hand-rolled and honey-boiled and then wood-fired. That makes the difference. Take it from me, wood-fired. I owned a wood-fired pizza business for many, many years. They're doing wood-fired pizza on Friday nights only. You got to check this out. I've been there. The pizzas are big. 2 people can finish a pizza. And they only do it on Fridays from 4 to 8. Have you done the pizzas yet?
Not yet, no, but I'm looking forward to
You
it.
got to get there. Last week they did a Detroit style pizza, which they don't always do. So the thick
That
in the
deep
pan,
dish, yeah.
deep dish, they do it right. Unbelievable.
And that's where the cheese comes off the edges and melts.
And it gets nice and crispy.
Crispy on the sides.
They're
Yeah,
open
that's
from
cool.
6 to 2 daily, 4 to 8 on Fridays for the wood-fired pizza night, bagels, pizza, and libations. Myers Wood-Fired, 408 Shelburne Road in Burlington. They're on Facebook and Instagram, Myers Bagels BTV. And you can give them a call at 863-5013. They're open from 6 to 2 every day, breakfast and lunch at Myers Wood-Fired.
Try that McMeyer.
You got to try it. Yeah. Rocket, you got to tell me about the app because this is big. You've gone from the Instagram account to starting an app where people can. I just signed up for the app today.
Oh, great. Yes. So let's put it this way. I've built a mobile app. It is live now in Apple and Android. It's called Eat Vermont. Pretty simple to download. And the idea is to make it the ultimate place to find everything about local food. But not just that, community events all around the state. So we've got the best events listing, because Lord knows we need one. Just live music, community events, fairs, festivals, pop-ups, any type of event that you can imagine in Vermont. We're putting that right there in the app. You can change the location. So it'll show you events happening near you. Because one thing that happens all the time is you get on social media, you see an event and say, well, that sounds cool, and it happened 3 days ago.
I know, they're late.
And you say, why are you even showing me this?
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
But I think they do it to torture the businesses because they want to get you to pay by ads. You know, I think that's how they do it. But what we did is now the app. We're going to put menus, every menu of every restaurant in Vermont. We're going to list every farm. We're going to list every food pantry. So we're going to make it really the one-stop shop of all these different things. Now, we have trails in there. You get the cheese trail, the beer trail. We'll have a pie trail. We did a trail in St. Johnsbury, just lunch spots in St. Johnsbury. Yeah. And then we've got day trips, and we're building this out to have, over time, hundreds and hundreds of day trips around state. Even better, a custom tool that gets published later this week or early next week, where you can actually say, I'm starting in Waterbury, I'm going to Middlebury, and then it'll design a custom day trip specifically to you. So that's all going to be in the app.
You know what impresses me so much is when I find out some of the locations that you're going to, and you're thinking, I'm going to St. Johnsbury.
Yeah.
And for somebody that lives in Burlington, they go, we got everything we need right here in Burlington. Why would you go to St. Johnsbury?
Yeah.
And then was that the place where I saw you had the woman, was she doing the Korean food?
Yeah. Super Spice.
Super Spice.
Yeah, she does all sorts of Asian foods. Yeah.
Her name is Sue, and she's Super Spice.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And I'm looking at this food, and I'm going, man, you'd think you wouldn't get that out of Burlington.
Yeah, they got sushi, they've got bulgogi bowls, they've got Oriental curries, just a whole range of stuff. And that's the thing is that people often, I hear this complaint all the time from people. They say, it's going back to the events thing. I don't go out because I don't know what's going on.
Right.
Right. But the same goes, I don't go to that town because I don't know what's there.
So the great thing about the app is, let's say I got a business trip, I have to go to Bennington, Vermont.
Yeah.
And we're always safe if we find this is why I'm not knocking Burger King and McDonald's and stuff, but you know what you're getting, it's safe.
Yeah.
And you always hate to go into it. Well, I don't know is it going to be good or is it If Rocket is eating there and you've seen the food in front of him, you know that it's good.
That's true. That's true.
So check out the app.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, so there's the free version of the app, you can just download it. You don't even need to make an account, and you can get access to that calendar, that statewide calendar. Because I just wanted there to be a free community tool that anybody could go see events and just be involved in the community. Right now, I don't want to dive too much into the political situation, but we obviously people feel very conflicted, positive, negative, whatever.
Yeah.
It's very divisive. And I say, I want to remind people that we have so much power at home in our own communities, just when we look out for each other right here, supporting local. And so if we could just create that small amount of access. So you can download the app on Apple or Android, Eat Vermont, without even making an account, no payment. That free version, you can have access to the complete community calendar, all the events around state, just to get out of your own home.
Then you want to find out where to go and what's
Yeah,
good.
and if you're able to pay for the membership and go for the higher level, then you can get the trails, the day trips, and all this extra content.
Got about 60 seconds left. I wish we had more time. I'm going to have you back again at some point.
Gladly, anytime.
I don't know if this is fair, but just quickly, I want you to. What's your favorite kind of food? And we'll throw one out. I'll throw them out here.
Okay.
And you put them in any order.
Okay.
If you can remember.
Okay.
Mideastern, Lebanese, Armenian, Italian, Mexican, Spanish, Greek, Thai, Asian.
Oh wow.
What's number one?
Today, Thai.
Thai.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah. Well, let's put
That's
that
my
on
number one.
Okay.
What's your number two?
I'm gonna go Italian.
You're going. That's my number three.
Okay.
All right. We got Mideastern, Lebanese, Armenian. We got Mexican, Spanish together, and then Greek.
Yeah. Today I'm gonna go Mediterranean.
That's number two.
Number three.
That's number three.
Yeah,
You got twos and threes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Thai, Italian, Mediterranean.
All right.
Yep.
All right. I'm Thai, Mideastern, Italian. So we've got Mexican, Spanish together, and
Yeah.
then Greek 4 and 5.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Mexican, then Greek.
Man, we're together on this.
Okay, Charlie, let's go eat.
Absolutely. Well, let's go. At Eat Vermont
Yep.
on Instagram. I want to thank my guest today.
Thank you.
Rocket, Senator Rocket, to you
Hey,
for
thank you,
joining
sir.
me here on Travels with Charlie. I'll be back with you next Monday right here on Travels with Charlie. Want to thank Casella Waste, Milne Travel. They've been doing it since 1975. Myers Wood Fired. My theme song written and performed by Billy Bratcher. Running the board today, TJ Olson, doing a great job. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you in my travels. Let's get out and eat.
Right on. Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks for joining me.
Cheers.